Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Christian Reeve Podcast. Today's guest is a professional flute player from Las Vegas. Very, very cool to have Erin-Clare on the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, the pleasure's mine. Pleasure's mine. I've been looking forward to this for a while. But before we get into you and everything about you, we were talking off camera about the types of work we do. I've just come off a shift today, and I'm feeling like, and I've got to do another podcast tomorrow before I go to work. So life is a bit of a blur for me. But what kind of work are you doing besides?
Right now, I actually have a little hospitality and tourism internship going on that I'm training for. I just started out here in Vegas. So currently working front desk. So I've been training for that. We do like a week on each shift. So the morning shift, the swing shift or afternoon shift, and then of course the graveyard shift. So I've just finished my training this morning. I just worked 10 days in a row. First five were, what was it, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then I went straight into 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. for 5 days. So yes, I am very much bleh as well.
It's weird. Like I got back into customer service stuff for the first time in 5 years the other day. No, what was it the other day? August. Yeah, it's getting to me. And I don't know. I don't know what to make of it really. I mean, it's the work is easy. It's fine. Whatever. It's minimum wage. It is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. But
Right.
it's weird to go back into it after being out of it. But I don't know. I suppose it all depends on your perspective. Like one thing I've noticed,
Yes.
like coming back into it, is that my attitude when I was younger was like somewhat quite lazy. Like not like lazy in the sense that I didn't care, I didn't try, but lazy in the sense that like I don't know, I really had to like force myself to go in. Whereas now I'm kind of just like, I do it, whatever.
Right.
And then as soon as I get to do the stuff that really matters, like this, I'm like, okay, and I throw myself into it.
Right.
But I was literally like rushing to get back today, and I was just like, come on, come on, come on.
The countdown. You just got to make it to that. I totally agree. Like it is an internship and it's like professional and everything like that, but to me, I mean, my heart is in it as much as I can, but of course, like I put my heart into my music. And I think it's good to have a little day job so you're not completely relying on your music, and like eventually I would like to do that, of course. That is the main goal, but not making it doesn't make it as much of a chore, you know?
Mm.
So, but customer service in hospitality it'll get to you because people are in vacation mode. They're not listening to you. They'll yell at you and you just got to take it. So perspective it's good though. It's good to not judge. It's like learning to not judge people, because you don't know what they've been through, you know?
See, this is where I disagree with you because I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. I get where you're coming from, and I do bite my lip and try to just bite my tongue. That's something very different.
Okay.
I bite my tongue, and I'm embarrassed now.
It's all right.
You
Just
know,
shake it off. You got
this
it.
is what I mean, man. You come straight off a shift, and your mind
Yeah,
is
yeah.
just like,
As soon as you said it, I was like, let's just let him go.
you took it like a okay. No, I mean you have to bite your tongue all the time and just deal with it. But when you said there, like about being on vacation mode, like I don't know, man. Like I've had everything from people throwing like negative words,
Yeah.
shouting, doing the clicking thing. I hate that.
Oh,
And
mm,
it's like, even before I worked in customer services, I never would have dreamt of speaking to people the way that I've been spoken to or been treated. Like I just can't
right,
imagine treating another human being like that, let
right.
alone in the service industry. Like I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way. It's
I agree. But it puts you in perspective and it kind of makes you wonder, like, because sometimes you don't really realize how you talk to people. And it kind of like once you're in that position, not that I felt like I've ever been mean to a service person, but just to like, you really start to appreciate other people when you go on vacation or you go to a restaurant or you go to a store and stuff like that. It's just kind of giving them like, hey, thanks for doing what you do. I know that this is the last thing you want to be doing right now, and I really appreciate you being here, you know? So it's
Yeah,
a good perspective kind of thing, you know?
no, yeah, I agree in that sense. Like, it has taught me to be a lot more patient when it comes to getting
Right.
things. I'll say that
Right.
much. But then it's also taught me to be a bit snobby as well. Bear with me.
Oh,
So when it comes to things like the presentation of things and how things are delivered and stuff, or especially like when promises are made and then they're broken and stuff like that, like that's where I get a bit iffy because I'm like, well, if that were me doing that, that would be done right now, you know.
hmm.
And if not, there would be like heavy apologies and then moving on to like trying to fix that. And I've been in
Right.
situations where I've been on the other end of receiving that service, and it's like, I don't know. But then I don't know. A lot of things can happen at once, and sometimes it is just unmanageable. Um,
Yeah.
Plus, the crazy thing is as well is that like you don't always have management involved in the situation. Like I'm lucky in the position I'm in
Right.
right now, management's great and everything, but when it comes to most of the places I've worked, there's so many times when it's been like, huh, well, I'm gonna go do this. You're all right here, right? And it's like you're dealing with like 300 people, and you're like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Where I'm at right now as well, everybody, they make it quite clear that they'll have your back. And that's one thing that I love, because like I said, I've only been doing 3 weeks here, and I've already had situations where a guest is just rude to me, and I'm training, I'm like new, trying to get on my own. And the people, like I said, front desk. So there's people next to me that are experienced, have been there for years or at least a year, you know, and they'll be like, sir, please, she's training, she's new, you really don't have to talk to her that way. Like they will immediately have your back. And as soon as I feel comfortable, I'll be doing the same thing, you know? So I feel really comfortable and really kind of taken care of here in this job. So that's why 10 days, nah, I don't even care. I had a good time with good people, you know?
That's how it should be. It's the same where I
Yeah.
work right now. It's good vibes. I'm a little bit older than everyone, so I'm like 29. Everyone else is kind of like 20, 21. But it's
Hmm.
interesting. Like they are all in the right headspace, which makes it more of a fun, enjoyable place to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Is this your first position, like, or have you had other jobs prior to this, or?
I have had other jobs. I would say that my first like real job was at a roller rink my freshman year of college.
Damn, what's that like?
Yeah, so that was fun. But talk about craziness that you had to deal with. But I worked a couple of like I majored in music performance.
Hmm.
So during like the fall season, football season is packed tight with rehearsals. So I really could only get a job in the spring semester and in the summer. And I would move home for the summer. So I kind of had like semester jobs. So just a couple like odd jobs here and there. But after I graduated college, I worked at Disney World for 7 months. I did a Disney college program. And then I moved home after my program ended, worked on a little boutique at the beach, where I'm from in Florida. And then this out here. So I feel like this is my first big girl job because I'm surrounded, like you said, you're surrounded by like you're like the oldest one. I'm one of the younger ones, in this like executive type, vibe and everything. So I feel it also, you can tell the tone and everything because I've worked at jobs with like younger people or people my age, and it's like it's a crap show, but here, like, I would talk to my trainers like, hey, is there anybody like that I need to like look out for, like who's the snake here, who do I need to steer clear of? And they're like, no, nobody, we all like hang out. And like, seriously, all these people are adults. They got their big girl pants on, and they're not really here for the drama, and they're just having a good time. And so I just feel so like it's almost too good to be true, It's not just too good to be true, but I'm just like, wow, everybody's actually an adult here. Like that's crazy. That's insane. I've never seen that before. So I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. But yeah, a couple other jobs from here and there. But this one so far, I'm like, it's difficult, it's challenging, but I do enjoy it.
I know exactly what you mean when you say that. Like it was, I mean, I kind of just came into this particular job like, so I'll give you a bit of context. And for those who already know, I'm sorry, I'm repeating it again. But it's like I came into this basically. I was doing like a few freelance jobs in marketing. That's like my specialism, and to fully pursue acting and things like podcasting and everything else that I'm trying to do in my life, I realized like I have to be freelance or 0 hours, something like to that effect, so that I have like the ability to chop and change and
Exactly.
flexibility. But with that comes certain sacrifices, and that meant going back into customer services. And I was a bit nervous, to be honest, to go back into it, and also because of the same things that you just raised. Like my experiences have always been both in corporate and in customer services, just like, oh yeah, same thing. Who do I avoid? What about this? What about that? But yeah, I get none of that in this place, and it's
Good.
it's it's nice. It's really, and it's fun. I don't know. Like it's. I will say this: any city that you're growing up in, like you should have like fun work that's befitting
Yeah.
for like your age, and you should go out and you should want to go out with your work colleagues and stuff. Like I mean, it's bad. Like this bar job I've just started. If anything, it's just encouraged me to drink more. I'm trying to like take care of myself, go to the gym.
Yeah, that's what like in this is like a Vegas, like everybody's like going out to the clubs
Right.
and like
Yeah.
and I'm like, you guys are like 30 years old. What are you guys acting like freaking you just turned 21? But I'm down with it. I'm so down with it. It's crazy.
I think for some people it's like a blow off, and for other people they have a different attitude. Like I remember I met a guy when I was living in Europe who described his 30s as like his second 20s. And okay, fair enough. He didn't
Oh, I
have
love that.
he didn't have like kids yet or anything, so I think that does
Mhm.
change things. And I will say in my instance, yeah, single,
Right.
don't have kids, don't have anything like that. So there is maximum kind of flexibility to do those things. But at the same time, it is you are older and you do have to be more responsible. It's weird. I don't know
Right.
what to make of
I
this.
mean, but do you really? Or do you want to fall into the confines that society pushes on us? I know that's so hippy dippy, but really, you know, like the timeline, it doesn't have to be what everybody says it has to be. That's what I kind of try to tell people, like how I have like the nomad gypsy spirit. I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, I want to, like, I don't really ever want to settle down in one place unless it's like one place that I fall in love with. Like, how can you choose where you want to be if you haven't been everywhere yet, you know? And people are so in a hurry. And I feel like my friends are going to listen to this and think I'm calling them out. And if it works for them, it works for them.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people are so in a hurry to settle down. And I know that there's comfort in that for a lot of people. I'm not comfortable with that. So
Mm.
and I don't think if you're not comfortable with it, don't do it, you know? Like I just feel like you can do a lot more than what like is kind of pushed on you in school and movies, like, you know, because the lifestyle of being born, going to school, getting education, get a job, get married, have a kid, and then die, pretty much. And let your kid do the same thing and then just, you know, grow old or whatever. I don't know. It
No,
doesn't maybe eventually it'll appeal to me, but right now, not so much.
no, I'm right there with you on that. I think when I was a lot younger, when I was like a teenager, like I had this idea in my head that, oh, I should probably, follow what society says and do all this stuff, but I didn't want to, but I felt like,
Right.
oh, I suppose that's the right thing to do. And then I just realized steadily over time that like I just can't be happy doing that. And so,
Exactly.
and like as much as it's kind of scary to do unconventional, like live in an unconventional way, it's also very exciting. And
Yeah, because you
no,
really
no,
don't know what the next step is. Like you don't know where the wind's going to take you. Like, yeah, it's all about the life that's going to make you happy and you just got to make it. You have to make it work for yourself, you know? I mean, like I can't be like a rock star flute player with a 9 to 5. That's just not how it's going to work, you know? So,
yeah,
you
no,
got to
you're
make it
right.
work
You're
for
right.
you. You got to make it work for you.
Very true. Very
Yeah.
true. Right. So we've had a bit of a chance to like talk about work. I don't know why. It was fun, I guess.
Yeah, we both just pretty much, I got off a few hours ago as well. So yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, sorry for anyone that's like, why is he talking about work? This is so boring. I
I don't
guess
know. I like talking about it. Everybody works pretty much, so it's
this is
relatable.
this is something I do like when people are chasing their dreams and they're balancing like a 9 to 5. Because I notice I get this question a lot, like when I do live streams, people will say things like, "Oh, what do you do for work? Like, what do you do for a living?" And I'm like, "Why do you care?" Like, I mean, yeah, I'll talk about it. Like, and there are some interesting things. Like, I work at a bar, so it's there are
Right.
fun stories. It's never.
Lively, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, for good and for worse. But at the same time, it's like it's not what I want to do, and it's not what I'm enjoy talking about either. It's just kind of like,
Right.
eh. But I love like this. I love for instance with the podcast, and I've said it a million times, but like every single time I do this show, it's different. Be it a different person, a different topic. I get something from it. My viewers get something from it. It's always different, and that to me is just mind blowing and never stops being interesting.
Right. I
Whereas
agree.
the bar can be like either really busy, sometimes fun, or sometimes really boring.
Right.
It just like so I could like there's times that I'm at the bar and I'm just sitting there like, what am I doing with my life? Literally, I'm just like I should be out there performing and
Right.
doing all these things I love, but instead I'm in this place.
Right.
Anyway,
You know.
we're working to get out of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Working
This
to
is
get
just
out
to
of that.
pay the bills. This is just to get your gear to in like your dream pedal board, your dream gear, you know? That's all it's for. It costs
Let's hope it works
money.
out. It does. Oh my
Right.
God, it does. It does. Actually, speaking of
Yeah.
which, before I get into like your musical journey, like talk us through the cost of like professional flutes. What's that like?
Yeah. Because I recently just, I just moved across the country and I'm trying to get everything together and I'm in the process of like making all this new music and I'm like, I decided to release like or launch a Patreon and everything like that
All
because
right.
I'm like, this is so much. But like flute maintenance can really, really be a lot. Like a flute, like I don't want to say a low end or a cheap, but like a affordable, reasonable
Hmm.
professional flute, you're gonna look at like 15 to 2,500. Luckily I have one. I got a scholarship out of high school that I used to buy my like college level flute, and it'll last you and everything. But I mean, I have a pearl flute from the 70s that I play outside. You have to have multiple flutes because you can't use your one flute for everything. So I have my outside flute, I have my inside flute. You got to think about like photo shoots and video shoots because if I just moved out here and I don't know anybody, so I'm having to like usually I'll have my friends come and help me. And I have some really good photographer friends that I met in Disney that did like photo pass at Disney. So they got me covered on that, but that's when I was in Florida. Like here, I'm having to kind of fend for myself. And then home studio expenses are insane. Microphones. I just bought like the clip-on mic that you can put on your flute, but I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
using that to record on my like this music that I'm doing. I have like a USB mic and everything, and then I have like the SM57. Um, I use guitar effect pedals on my flute, and effect pedals are, yeah, pedals are the funky crazy ones are, of course the most expensive ones, but yeah. And
Do
then
they
you need
work?
an amp.
I was gonna say, do they work in the same way that they would for the guitar, or do they store it in a different
Um,
way?
it's been trial and error. That's another thing is you gotta drop 300, like 150 to 300 on a pedal that might not work, you know? So you just got to make sure that there's a return policy or you can turn that thing around and sell it again.
Jeez.
Um,
Okay.
because I've definitely gone through that. And a lot of like local guitar shops will be like, "Oh yeah, bring your flute, we'll hook you up and we'll let you try it all out and everything." So I've been fortunate enough to kind of fall into those situations where I don't really have to waste my money. But yeah, I don't want to say it I don't know. I mean, it's hard to compare the sound of a flute and a guitar together, but I would say like the effect wise, like, yeah, it does kind of have the same kind of effect. Like a reverb and delay pedal belongs on a flute. Like, yes, of course it belongs on a guitar as well. I'm not saying exclusively flute, but like really. And then I have the Talk Back by Dan Electro, so it's like a reverse delay.
Mm,
That sounds insane on the flute, you know?
okay.
Uh reverb, or not reverb, I'm sorry, fuzz and distortion, that's kind of where I'm exploring right now. Some like distortion, making it sound like just real gritty and nasty, you
So
know?
you use loop pedals, right?
I actually don't right now. I don't have a loop pedal. I'm in the market for one. Like I said, we
What's
have the day job.
it's in the works.
Yes.
But the reason I ask is like, do you have plans? Because obviously I don't know like your performance setup. I know that you do perform like live and
Yeah.
stuff, but do you try or are you planning to sort of build your own kind of band thing, like as in one woman show, or is it going to be like, you know, you actually have a band? Like, what are you trying to do with it?
Right. Right now it's very much one woman show. Like the single I have out right now and everything that I'm working on, I'm kind of using it, or I don't want to say using. I'm kind of viewing it more as like a discography resume. Like, hey, I did everything here. I'm a very versatile musician. This is what I can do. Let me know if you like it or not, you know, kind of
Mm.
thing. When I play live, I will have usually like a backing track with me, and then I just play on
Ah,
top of that
okay.
right now because I'm very meticulous. And you know, I'm very meticulous and I want things done the way I want things done. And I know that that sounds kind of bratty, but I feel like everybody wants things done the way that they want things done. So
I
I
sense
don't
that you
really feel remorseful about that. But
do you have many
um,
arguments with sound engineers?
yeah, when they sit and try to tell me how to do, they don't,
Right.
you know, because they don't know how to mic a flute. They don't know what they're doing. I hardly know what I'm doing when it comes to like talking to a sound guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I guess let's figure it out. And then there's like a guy, like a stagehand that's like, you have to get right up on the mic or it's not gonna work. And I'm like, sir, or
Mm.
it's so funny. And I know that you don't play the flute, so you probably don't know. But when they put the mic at the end of the flute, hilarious. Number one comedy right there. It You put it right where your mouth is because that's where
Ah,
like the sound resonates. So it's just people don't know.
okay.
Oh, and then you're like, I'm you know a lady, so I have to really prove myself that I know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
And they'll
really?
either,
Still that?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
I thought so too. I thought we'd be past that, especially with like these profound rock and roll women that are just mowing us all down left and right.
What
And
kind
I
of
do think it's also because it's flute and it's like a, you know, foreign territory, but you know, I don't know.
what's the kind of age demographic you're dealing with when with regards to like people of like sound engineers, stuff like that?
Um,
Generally.
are you talking just sounding like when we're talking about like sound people?
Well,
It's
like,
like older people.
right. I was gonna say because like when you say like you have to prove yourself to people, like immediately I'm thinking, oh,
Yeah.
they got to be
It's
old.
not, but proving myself is not just to sound people. It's you'd be surprised. It's pretty much, I don't want to say like everybody, but like it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. There's
Like who? What's the deal?
like I'll meet other musicians, and this is not everybody. This is absolutely not everybody because I can tell like, oh my gosh, this person's awesome if I say, "Oh, I'm using guitar pedals on flute," or "Oh, I love that," or like I'm trying to like perform, or "Oh, I do this, oh, I do that." And they're immediately like, "Oh, that's interesting. Like tell me more." And then there's other people that are like, well, actually, it's this, and this. And it's like, well, actually, it's not that. Like, this is actually what it is. Just people that think that they know a lot more. I'm trying not to be too explicit because I don't want to call people out specifically, but you and I'm not speaking for like all women because
Mm,
I don't really know, but I know personally it's been it annoys the crap out of me
Sure.
when I show up at a place and I'm like, yeah, I'm actually trying to be like, I would love to be a famous rock and roll flute player. Like, I want to be in the rock and roll industry. And they're like, like, you can't just, that's not how it's going to work. Like, you know that, right? And I'm like, who says, you know? Or they're like, well, I'm trying to think of like what the other day I went out with my friend. This is actually a specific story because it quite literally rubbed me the wrong way.
Okay.
And she was hanging out with like a group of guys, and of course I'm with her, so I'm hanging out with this group of guys. And I guess the fact that I'm a musician just kind of like seeps out of me. Like it's my only personality trait, I guess.
It's just too cool, man.
No, I mean, I feel like I come off way too pretentious, and that's on me. But
No, not at all. You come across very well.
oh, thank you, thank you. To this guy, I did rub this. I was threatening this guy, I feel like, but he was apparently this. He says he like manages musicians. So I'm like, oh my gosh, let's talk. Like, what are your rates? What, like, how do you like what? I've never met somebody like that that's like up and coming in that whole like that zone of the music industry. And it was like primarily for like rap music, so I knew like I wasn't gonna hire this guy. That's not really the direction where I'm going. But I was curious, you know, like, oh,
Sure.
cool. But he was like, yeah, I would charge you, and I could be completely ignorant to this. He was like, I would charge you $215 for, or $250 for a 15-minute set. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, what, sir? I have to pay you $250 to get booked for a 15-minute set, like 1-5? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I call venues all the time and get booked for free, and then they pay
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Why would I need you? He's like, well, if you want to get into these big venues. And he started like listing off like a bunch of venues, and I was like, okay. Like I was just like, okay. I'm like, I must not know jack squat, because I thought like managers and stuff were salary based, or at least like monthly based,
Yeah, like they take a
because
cut
it's
or
like a,
something.
a cut. Exactly. Because
Yeah.
what would I get if I paid you $250 for, and where is a 15-minute set? You know? Like that's quick in my opinion, you know? Unless
Mm.
it's like a long lineup and you're just like kind of like a writer's round or paper bag type deal.
Wait, what paper bag type deal? What are you on about? What's
Like
that?
a paper bag, like paper bags. Like that's like a, it's kind of like a little mini lineup, and you just like go and hang out and watch like a bunch of different like
Oh.
singer
Oh, okay.
songwriters or musicians just kind of go around and go back and forth. I've heard them be called paper bags
I've just never heard
before.
that expression before.
I
Okay,
mean,
cool.
now I'm second guessing everything.
No, no, no,
But
no.
yeah,
Maybe it's a stateside thing. Like I don't know.
maybe.
Hadn't
Yeah.
heard it in the UK, but fair enough. Um, I know here in the UK that generally like a 15-minute set would. I've never seen it for like an official gig. I have seen it on like open mic nights.
Yeah,
That's
that's what I mean.
pretty.
Like paper bags are like open mic nights. I'm just,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay,
that's
cool,
very,
cool.
yeah, same kind of thing. You just kind of like go up and show your
Yeah,
stuff and then you leave, you know? Yeah, absolutely. 15 minutes, because you're not booked, you
yeah.
know? You just kind of show up and hang out. Or you're on the roster, like you signed up in advance, you registered. But yeah, so I was confused by that guy. But it was, and then I kind of, he started like kind of talking down to me,
Mm.
like, oh, you know, you're doing hospitality, you know, you're like really in a good place for hospitality, you know that, right? And I'm like, Las Vegas? Yeah, no duh. Like, why do you think I'm here? And then I was like, you know, like you're ripping people off when you charge people that, like musicians, that like you're really everything that's wrong with the music industry, you know that, right? Ticked him off. Ticked him off. He's like, why don't you like me? I'm just being nice to you. Why don't you like me? And I'm like, you're nasty and I don't like you.
That's amazing. What do you mean? Why don't you like me?
Yeah,
Because you're
why
an
don't you like
asshole.
me? I'm just being nice to you. I'm like, no, you're not.
What a insecure guy, man.
Yeah,
Jesus
that's,
Christ.
and I think that is a lot of it, is they see like, and I'm very confident in myself. I do love myself. It's, you know, you gotta. But I show up and I know my stuff. And
Sure.
if I don't, I'm willing to learn.
Mm,
And I think that threatens a lot of people. And I haven't seen it in a lot of women. Like I haven't threatened a lot of other women yet, but I haven't really
mm.
encountered a lot of women. But it's like a lot of dudes. Like I roll up and I piss them off for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I do.
I reckon
But
I know because I've noticed this in certain guys. It's always the insecure guys. Like they get like threatened by the idea of like a strong woman. Like, it's not old cliche, isn't it? Like a strong, independent
I know it.
woman.
Yeah,
But
exactly. It is
but
kind of cliche.
it's like what dude? Why does it bother you? You know,
Yeah,
this person has to work like 15 times harder than you
yeah,
because of how society works. It shouldn't work that way, but it's just like how it is. It's getting better,
yeah.
but it's still we're still working on it. And
Yeah,
it's
and I
like,
don't know as much as it is like working. I feel like I, as a flute player, have to work a little harder because, like I said earlier, foreign territory. I'm
okay,
trying to push something that has rarely been done, you know? So in that sense, I feel like I have to take different approaches, but I don't know as much as like it's working harder, but it's just like being viewed as like equal right off the bat, you know? That's okay. But we were talking about what the long-term plans are, and I'm sorry. I would love to get picked up by a band. That's kind of
okay.
the long term. Or like that's kind of, I feel like that's more realistic, is like get picked up by a band, but like another kind of dream goal would be um doing like being a feature artist, almost like just
Hmm.
kind of like being in a studio and featuring on a lot of different tracks. Like say that this band wanted a flute track, I would go and I'd be like, here, let me lay it down for you. And then I have like two other bands that also want me to lay down flute tracks for them, you know? So that would be super awesome.
As soon as I saw that you were a flute player, like other than just sort of being enamored by that and also kind of your
Oh,
vibe and
thank you.
style and stuff, like I think the first thing that sort of came to me was I don't know if you're familiar with this musician. I think she's American, possibly Canadian. I think her name's like Lindsay Sterling or
The
Starling.
violinist.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Do
yeah,
you so the reason I bring this up is obviously she I think originally just did like kind of like videos of her just playing, like I don't know, a Zelda theme or some shit.
yeah.
And then she kind of started releasing her own music, and then it sort of escalated to the point where now she's doing like tours and stuff like around the
Yeah,
world.
she just like featured on a Disney special, like a Disney World special, which she did like the fireworks show live. She was the one that actually recorded for it and everything. Yeah, I think that's like the closest thing I can kind of relate to as what
This is
kind of the goal is.
this is what I was thinking. Like, do you envision that? Like you mentioned that um it's kind of like non-conventional, but there must be other famous like successful professional flute players like that you aspire to be like. Could you name some of them or like?
Yeah, I don't have like a I want to be like this person
Okay, yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But of course Ian Anderson, Jethro Tull, you know. And then I know a lot of people comment on my videos. Lizzo. I don't consider Lizzo like a like solidified flute player though. Like that's just kind of like a side thing. I know that she studied flute and everything.
Yeah.
I feel like when I talk about flute, like those are the three or the two that are, but Ian Anderson, very jazzy tone.
Hmm.
Lizzo is a very crisp tone and she's very like technical and like flashy, I guess you could say, with she just does like hardcore trills, so those two, I'm a very like dreamy vibey, dreamy creamy kind of vibe. But Ann Wilson, the lead singer of Heart, she plays flute and she's a fabulous flute player. um Shoot, of course, like there's like the famous flute players like Sir James Galway, Francis Doppler, things like that. But I don't know. The Wrecking Crew is like a band. They're like a little crew that used to feature on different tracks
Oh
in like a
wow.
lot of like yacht rock in like 70s, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So I have loads of inspirations and things like that when it comes to instrumentalists. Um, but like some like explicitly what I want to do, I haven't seen before, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to sound pretentious, but I don't know, because I feel like Ian Anderson was also like the singer as well. So, and I will sing if it's gonna make or break the gig. Like if it's like you're not getting this gig if you won't sing, I'll be like, "Ugh, okay, I'll sing." I'm not tone deaf. I can harmonize if I need to. I don't particularly care for my singing voice. Like I don't think it's like a lead singer. It's like singing voice, uh but yeah, there's just I would say those, but think about like the Moody Blues, they had a lot of flute. Like how I feel like I am all over the place with this conversation because I am sleep deprived. But do you know the like that rebirth of the Renaissance that happened in the 60s, like fashion wise and kind of
Mm.
like that whole era?
Yeah.
Um, I feel like a rebirth of that rebirth would be awesome because like 60s music and like early 70s was like there was just flutes on the track 100% of the time, you know? And then of course the Mellotron came out, which had the flute pre-recorded, like one of the first like synthesizer kind of pre-recorded keyboards and everything. But I feel like right now we could really use a rebirth, like a refresher of that era of music, that raw, natural, um, just I want to say vibe, but just like energy
I
in their
think
music.
I think we are getting there. I mean, I will say,
I agree.
I've even had people on the show before who are like fashion wise and music wise
Yes.
have been into like 60s, 70s kind of music. And increasingly we're seeing it more and more. And it kind of makes sense because, for so long we've been heavily commercialized as a society and, people want for more than that. It's like, like how excited can you really be about 15 million iPhones? Do you know what I mean? It's like that will
Right.
always kind of attract people. There will always be people that are obsessed with technology, but at the same time, there's always seems to be an attraction in society to what once was.
Nostalgia almost. Yeah,
I know
I agree.
always been that way. Like I've always been far more interested in what used to be rather than what is. I'm
Right.
just living in the past. Like,
Right, exactly. And I feel like, of course, the music, I love a good pop song.
sure,
Like
yeah.
2009's trashy club music. I dig it. But it's easy to consume, of
Sure.
course. And that's another thing with my music is there's no words because
Mm.
I'm not, it's no words. It really, really leaves you to in a spot where you have to interpretate it yourself, you know? Like a music score from like a film, if you don't really know the film that well and you're just listening to this quote unquote classical music, there's no words, so that you just lump it in the classical music pile, but like you have to come up with your um what is it, like a music video in your head or how it makes you feel.
Mm.
And people will text me or like message me like, "Oh, I listened to your song today because I was sad." And oh, like when I get really worked up, it like that's the song that I need to help me cry, like and help me get that emotion out. Which is so funny to me because I was not sad writing it. Like to me, writing that and like making that song was not sad. It was very like determined. Like it was about a pipe dream. Like everybody says that like this is your dream and everybody says you'll never get it. Like that was like I wanted to release music and I was told like that's just not how it works. You're not going to do that. And of course, like I had to name my first single Pipe Dream because that's why I wrote it. Is like it was this idea that I've had this whole time and people try to weave their way around it and try to sway your dream, but you'll stay constant with it. That's how it is. It's very like determined, confident song. So when people text me and they're like, "Ugh, I just cried to your song for 15 minutes. I'm like, why? Why'd you do that? So it leaves room for emotional freedom, you know? Like I'm trying to think of like a basic pop song like off the top of my head. Like OMG by Usher and will.i.am, right? Like you know what that song's about. Like you can't make up your own way. It's like that's what it's about, you know? Just like some random pop song, it's like spoon fed, like this is what it's about. There you go. But like with music with no words, you're like forced to make your own judgment on what it means to you. And I think that's good for your brain. That's good for the noggin right there. And it's kind of, you know, not that it's not happening right now, but it's definitely not the norm, you know? And I feel like there needs to be more of that. Or it needs to be better, well, like more well received and I feel like it needs to be sought after a lot more. You can't do anything about that. People are going to want what people want, but
Sure.
I wish that it was sought out a little bit more, you know?
I think one thing that helps considerably is, sort of the advent of the internet and the fact that people can access lots of different ranges of music. I mean, prior to that, it was very much just, what you hear on the radio, maybe what you
Hmm.
accidentally discover in a record shop. Other than that, you're
Right.
very limited. Whereas now, I find most of the music I listen to these days is, I'm going to sound also pretentious, is this whole thing of like, oh, well, all the music I listen to isn't in the charts and stuff. But it's just,
Right.
you just discover it,
Exactly.
you discover it through like
Right.
Spotify playlists or whatever, It's,
But doesn't that make it makes such a special connection
mm,
to that music because nobody likes it. And then you get all your friends to listen to it. And then like like I hate to bring this up. I feel like I bring it up all the time. But of course, Greta Van Fleet.
yeah.
You know, they're not really on the radio. Yes, they're popular. Now they're popular, you know. But I remember like hearing one of their songs and I immediately texted my brother because me and my brother were raised on classic rock. And I'm like, is this not Elton John mixed with Led Zeppelin, mixed with Aerosmith? Like, is this not everything we were raised on smashed into one band? Is
Mm.
this not that? And sure enough, my brother loves them and we love them together. And like, that's just such, you know, you discover, I just happened upon it one day. And now it's become this like huge part of like, it's very near and dear to my heart, that band. And just, and you know, it wasn't, I didn't hear it on the radio, you know. I just happened upon the song and I happened upon one of the chord. I think it was like an instrumental, and I was like, that chord structure right there, what is that? And then I was like, okay, time out. I
I
got to get
just,
in. Let
'cause
me in.
when I grew up, I was a huge classic rock fan. I rinsed the first four Zeppelin albums, Doors albums, you name it.
Hmm.
And I remember the first time I heard Greta Van Fleet, I was like, hang on a second.
Right.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
What is this? And it's not the first band that's ever existed that's done like
Right.
I don't want to say like a pastiche, or let's say a sound alike. Because I was a big fan of Rival Sons, and they've
Yes,
got a similar
Rival
vibe,
Sons.
but they're still quite unique. Whereas I feel like Greta Van Fleet, like I've seen them get frustrated about the fact that people draw comparisons to Zeppelin so much. But it's like the thing is, they sound so much like them, and I don't think people necessarily are comparing them to be difficult or be like, oh, you're copying them or whatever. Some people will say that, but
Right.
I don't think they are. I think it's just that when you use those chord progressions, when you do those, to me, it just sounds like they're picking up where Zeppelin left off, kind of thing.
Right.
In
But
a, in
I
a
know that
sense.
a lot of people hate that, but because I personally think that their most recent album, I don't feel like it's very like Led Zeppelin copy. Like I feel
Well, they're
like it's
learning.
a fresh, yeah, exactly. Of
Yeah.
course there are new stuff. Like I can see where people are coming from,
Yep.
but everybody's so mad about that, you know. And I don't want to make this whole podcast about Greta Van Fleet, but I just feel like the people that get mad, like you love Led Zeppelin, like why wouldn't you want somebody to like carry that on and bring it into like the new age, like today. Why wouldn't you want that, you know?
It's the originality argument, though, isn't it? It's the same as
Right.
in movies. I mean, okay, it's a little bit different in the sense that, with movies, people's complaint generally is, if it's too out there, it sucks. But if it's like just a remake, then do something original, right?
Right.
So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think the
Yeah, it's
problem
never good enough either way, you know?
is the thing. The problem with Greta Van Fleet is it doesn't matter what they do, they will always be compared to Led Zeppelin because
Yeah.
they just sound
Yeah.
so much like them, and it's
I hope one day I have a trope like that. Like, oh, no matter what she does, she'll always have this. Because I feel like that's really when you make it, is when you have like, there's always going to be that group of people that are always going to be like, oh, she's always like this. But then you'll have this other group that's like, no, it's so much more than that, you know? Like the controversy. I don't know. I feel like
just
that's
just
like when you've gotten there, you know?
so just having haters basically.
Yeah, aren't they? Aren't they your motivators? Isn't that what it's all about?
I don't know. Most of the time when I see haters online or wherever, I'm just like, this person's hurting. Like
Yeah, I
what?
know.
Like I don't.
Sometimes people come on my live and they'll like call me fat or whatever, and I'll be like, "Hey, everybody, shh. Are you okay? Let's make sure this person's okay. Are they all right?"
It's just attention, and it's like, please
Yeah.
notice me. I'm the
Yeah.
troll beneath the
I
pit.
haven't had to deal with too much, thankfully. I mean, either way, I mean, it's not gonna stop me. It's not gonna make me change the way I feel about myself or the
Good.
way I perceive my music, you know? Because I like at the end of the day, I know that this is an extension of me. And if people don't like it, people don't like me a lot of the time, you know? Everywhere I go, there's always going to be somebody that doesn't like me. So
Sure.
why would I care? And I know it's like I'm saying this now, and one day I'll be sad and crying about all the people that are saying all these mean things to me. And I'll have my moment of sadness. I'll have my moment of like boo hoo crying. But at the end of the day, nothing really matters. Nothing matters at the end of the day, you know?
How did you learn to have that attitude? Because I've noticed over the years, like it took me a while to get there to the point where, because now I just don't care. I honestly don't care. If you don't like
Right.
me, I don't give a fuck. But life's too short to give a shit about that. Unless
Right.
I've actually wronged someone, I don't care.
Right. That's different. That's
Right.
completely different.
But
Exactly.
but like just disliking someone, because a lot of the time it's just like people dislike you for no reason. Like, oh, I just don't like this
Yeah.
about you, or I don't like your vibe, or whatever the fuck. And it's like, okay, fine. But like,
Right. Because
how,
you'll cross people that you'll have an interaction with, and you're just like, I'm not a fan, you know? And
sure.
I won't ever say that unless it was that one guy who was like, oh, why don't you like me? I'll be like, reasons A, B, and C. Because you asked A, B, and C, you know?
Let me
But
get
like
out a
there's
detailed demonstration of why I
yeah.
don't like you.
Let me pull my receipts real fast. I've actually been recording this conversation, sir. No, just kidding. But uh yeah, like I don't love I don't want to say I don't love everybody. I love everybody as in the sense of I will treat you with kindness and
Yeah,
respect because that's what everybody deserves.
yeah.
But like I know I'm not going to get along with everybody.
Hmm.
I know that as a person, just because I'm 23 years old and I've dealt with, not like I'm 23 years old, I'm so big and wise, but I'm old enough to know that I'm very much an acquired taste kind of person. Like I am the acquired taste to people. Like some people, they just don't like me. And I know it's because I'm very pow, like boom, you know? And this is how I am, and there's no changing it. And I'm not going to alter myself for anything or anyone. And that's, in high school, that was a big issue for people. In college, people just didn't care about it, like didn't care for it. So I would get sad and I would be like, I'm not popular. Like, what the heck? Like, I'm missing out. But then I would say that this like attitude of like, I have to stop caring,
Mm.
or I just simply don't care. has really solidified in the past year, because I've always felt like I didn't care, but in the sense of I don't care and I'm mad about it. Like
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
like whatever, talk to the hand, like whatever, you're missing out. But now I'm like so indifferent, like I just like bottom line, like don't care. Like, okay, let's move on with our lives, because there's just too many people in this world and everybody has their own paths and not everybody's paths need to be aligned with each other. So why force something,
See, the only
I'd
thing that
rather have authenticity, other it's quality over quantity,
I
you know?
agree, I agree with you, but the only thing that ever bothers me is like sometimes I'll be like working somewhere, or like I remember I was doing volunteering about a year or two back, and there's just like some woman who clearly didn't like me, and we never spoke. And here's the thing, like I remember saying good morning like every morning for like a week and just nothing. And eventually I was like, oh, fuck you then, I won't. And then, well, because like, I'm not going to just like, if you're never going to bother, I'm not going to reciprocate, right?
Right.
And then it was just always awkward after that. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what is this? Like, what does this even mean? Like, because the thing is, it'd be fine. It'd be so much cooler if, like, the people that, you just don't click with, there's just like an unspoken mutual agreement to just be civil.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? As opposed to
Yeah.
like, I don't like you for no reason. So therefore, every time we're in a room together, it has to be awkward. Or
Yeah,
like,
there's tension.
yeah,
Yeah,
or like a group situation. Like, it's just like, oh,
I
it's
agree.
necessary.
Yeah, but it's because there's sour and bitter people out there
Sure.
that you can't do anything. All you can do is just wish them the best and hope that they get their act together. Because
Yeah.
I would hate to live a life where I'm just bitter to
Yeah.
somebody for no, like I have these made up crazy reasons in my head and I'll live by them and I'll allow tension in my life. Like that's going to give you wrinkles and gray hair. Why not just peace out, and not have not put like brain power towards it. You know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of these, like the people that you're talking about, I know exactly who you're talking about. And it's like you're wasting so much of your energy on this right now when you could be like putting that energy towards something good, um like a friendship, you know? Like that's like we don't have unlimited energy. We get burnt out. Like we
Mm.
as humans or whatever. And that's what they're choosing to it's like money. Like that's what they're choosing to spend that on is hate and sourness, you know? But and I was a very sour bitter person, like I said before. Like I would be like, oh, you don't like me, and I would be like upset and mad, and I would choose the bitterness. But um like I just tried one day, like let me just try to be like that peaceful hippie girl that I've always wanted to be. And I was like, oh, I sleep so much better, I feel cleaner. Does that make sense? Like I feel cleaner, like cleaner, and is that more clean is what I should say if I'm being grammatically correct. But I feel more clean and light and brighter. Like I feel like me as a person was a lot brighter, if that makes sense. Again,
Mm.
I know this is sounding very hippy dippy, and I apologize, but um,
I mean, I always describe myself as a modern day hippie. I mean,
right,
that's
exactly.
very on brand for me, but no, I mean,
But yeah, like why wouldn't you want to feel like why wouldn't you want to feel that way? And like don't get me wrong, like I'll have my days where I'll allow myself to feel that grungy sourness, but I'll keep it to myself and just be like, ugh, like today's just going to be one of those days where I allow myself to have those feelings, because you get frustrated and you're going to get mad and you're going to get ticked off and stuff like that. But don't wish like that's just part of the human experience is like feeling those emotions and everything. So don't wish them away, but let them come and then let them pass. Don't live in them, because like I said, I lived in them, and I feel like that was also a reason why people weren't liking me, is because I was living in that mindset of just being sour. But now I don't give a toot. I don't give a toot anymore. It's just because also you I am not saying that life is a simulation, but if you view it in a simulation, it's so much easier. It's so much easier.
How so?
Like it nothing matters. Like like you're like, oh, it's a simulation. Nothing really matters in the grand scheme of things, so I'm just gonna do what I want to do and be
Hmm.
who I want to be, because like to round it right back around to what we were talking about earlier, just like you have like the society's timeline, you know, it's a simulation. You don't even have to do it, you know, you don't have to. They're going to push you to do it, but you don't have to. What are you disagreeing? What?
Kind of, but like I get your point, but I wouldn't be me if I didn't pick and prod.
Right, see, and it's
um,
to each their own. Exactly.
it's just the inquisitor in me. I think inquisitor is
Right.
the wrong word. The curious side of
I
me.
don't know. There you go.
Like,
I don't know.
do you not feel that like unless to a certain degree you have to kind of acquiesce to certain things in society? Do you not feel that way? I mean, like for
What do
example,
you
like
mean? Like laws and things?
well, yeah, but like I mean more kind of like okay, like I need money.
Oh, yeah,
Do
yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's
No,
things like that. Like,
absolutely. Right. To a sense. And that's why I'm saying I don't like believe it is a simulation. I just think like if you have that kind of like back mindset, like
mm,
it's a lot like life turns to be a lot more fun. Like it turns into more fun rather than a chore. Like it's a simulation. I'm not going to care about everything. This is the dream that I have, and I'm going to do everything that I can to achieve that dream. And I don't have to give it up, you know, because everybody's telling me that I have to give it up. And I don't have to live this like bitter Karen life. I mean, I'm a white woman. Like the only future I have that society is pushing on me is a Karen. And I don't want that, you know? I don't want to grow up into that. That's what I gotta that's what I have to look forward to. I see these old white ladies and I'm like, please, anything but that, anything but that.
why do you think there's so many people out there that tell us not to follow our dreams?
That is a good question. Um, the conspiracy theory side of me is because they just don't want us to be happy. They want us to they want us to work like little ants in an ant farm. But I just think that sometimes when you have a dream and you go for it and it doesn't work, you could literally, like quite literally, end up on the streets. And you could just run your life into the ground. And if it doesn't work out, which, you know, not everything will work out, you know, um, like if you put all your eggs into one basket, like there's a high chance that you could get hurt. And like if it doesn't, if you put all your bets in one place and you lose, like that's like a financial recovery that is going to be hard to make. So I think it's the reason why the whole don't try to follow your dreams, be realistic is because it is a realistic and more, it's the you know, Pocahontas the movie, you know, when she's like in this the just around the river bend part, where she's like, should I choose the smoothest course, steady as the beating drum, or do you still wait for me, dream giver, just around the river bend? And she's like literally in a fork in the river, and there's just a steady stream and then a crazy like river rapids, and she chooses the river rapids. I feel like that is a choice that everybody has to go to through that, you know, because everybody has some sort of dream. But the smoothest course is the safest one. And of course, society's going to want, I say society, but like it's not even just that, but like your parents and your family and your friends are going to encourage you to choose the safe path because they want to see you succeed. That's like almost guaranteed, quote unquote, success, you know? As in, I say success, but I mean like There's
No,
a low chance of failure, you
it's,
know?
I don't disagree with you. It's just painful to hear it because it's just like,
Right.
I've had these kind of conversations with family, with people I know, and it's like the one. If I've learned anything in life, it's to not listen to those people that tell you not to do stuff. Just ignore
Yeah.
those fucking people.
Right. Right. Because you, and I know that you're the same. Like the reason why we're pursuing what we're pursuing right now is because we feel in our bones like we can do it. Like, do you not feel in your bones? Like, I know that, of course, there's like going to be a voice in the back of your head that's like, you're really doing it. Are you sure? But like, exactly. But you, obviously, you're pursuing it and you're really putting time and effort to it, like what we're doing right now. We feel in our bones like we can do it, you know? So why wouldn't we at least try
for
if
me,
we
it's
have that feeling?
for me, it's more than that though. Like I've done the whole corporate thing. I did the whole
Right.
trying to have a job, and you know what? It made me fucking miserable.
Right.
I was
Exactly.
like, I sooner do this and never get anywhere than
Yeah.
work 9 to 5 for the rest of my life, cash out at like 60, and just die a
Mhm.
year later. Like,
Yeah,
what a
exactly.
life, you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
because you had a good time and you know that when you're taking your last breaths, you know that you did the best that you could and you did what you wanted to do, you know?
Hmm, that's a
So
good way of
what does
looking
it
at it.
matter? Yeah, because and that's another thing is if I do fail, like, you know, because there's of course always the chance, there's always the one reality where you fail, I guess. And if that's where I'm at and I get to that point and I failed, I of course will mourn over the failure, but I know that I did everything that I could to achieve what I wanted. And in that sense, I would be fine. I would be fine. The world can hate me like what they did to Rebecca Black when she released Friday, but I know like I did it and they didn't like it and that's fine. You know, they didn't like it. I wasn't well received and that's okay. I did it, you know. So they can put me in the ground knowing that I did what I wanted to do, I guess. Hopefully that's not anytime soon. But yeah.
Damn, what a quote right there.
Yeah, let's put that on the tumbler cup right there. Sell that on Etsy.
Jesus. Oh my God. Okay. I want to kind of just take it back to the beginning and just kind of ask about how you sort of initially got into music and into becoming a flute player. Why did you just decide to become a flute player? Like, why did that start?
I actually wanted to be a violinist or a cellist, but
Hmm.
I didn't get put in orchestra when I was in middle school. I got put in band class. And I showed up on the first day and they handed me a piece of paper that said, this is your choice of three instruments. And it was flute, clarinet, and saxophone. They said, put a number and rate which one you want to play first, and then like put them in order. And my mom played flute in high school or middle school. So I was like, I guess flute, like out of flute, clarinet, and saxophone, like I liked flute the most. And then I came in the next day and they're like, there was like names on the seats, like a seating chart, and I was sat in the flute section. So I did not pick up a flute until we went to the rental store. Like I'd never seen a flute in real life, like as a conscious being. Like I remember being at the rental place, the instrument rental place, and I opened up the case and I'm like, Mom, like, how do you put this together? Like, I don't even know. Because if, it's in the case, I'm like, I don't even know how to put this together. I've never even seen, because I know like in a lot of middle schools, they'll have a day where you come and you try all the instruments
Right.
and you see which one, appeals to you the most. No, they just sat me down and said, you're playing the flute. And I was like, "Ugh, whatever. But here we are 13 years later. I was in piano lessons when I was in like kindergarten though. I got like on my 6th birthday, Santa brought me a keyboard. So, and that's where I found out that I could play by ear. because I would plug in the keyboard and then it would be like I used to watch Reba a lot when I was little, and I like would play the Reba theme song on my piano, and I would like little me at this point, I vividly like it's probably like 7 years old, 7 or 8, and I had like my big keyboard and I like brought it to my mom's room while she was watching TV, and I like sat it on the ground. I was like, I gotta play something for you, and I plugged it in and I played the Reba theme song, or I played the chords from Obla Di Obla Da by the Beatles,
So
and great song. And I was like, here, like, Mom, look at this, and she's like, good job. And it wasn't until I got, yeah, she's like, nice, nice. It wasn't until I got in high school when I was starting to talk to people, and I'm like, hey, play this song with me, play this song with me. Um, like with like my flute friends or like my clarinet friends. And they were like, where's the sheet music? I'm like, no, just play it. Let's go. Come on. And they were like, no, like we need music. And then I would talk to my mom about it. I was like, do you know like people actually need music to play stuff? Like, do you know that? It's not just like they can just do it. Because at this point, I've been playing everything, like anything, like with the melody, I could do at that point. But yeah, so and then we were like, okay, wait a minute. I have something here. So that's I'm very, very thankful that I can do that. I'm halfway illiterate, can't do math, barely could get through high school classes without extra credit. But dang, can I play a song on the radio? You know what I mean?
I feel like it's like with us creatives, our brains are hardwired in a different way. Because same as
Yeah,
you, I am useless at maths. I don't even
yeah.
try. But when it comes
Mm-mm.
to music, like I've got natural timing, find it easy to
It just
play
makes
music.
sense,
Yeah,
you know?
it's just like, oh, no problem. And
Yeah.
it's weird. Like when I hear people discuss having difficulties with creativity, I'm like, really? Huh.
Yeah, they're like, I couldn't play a musical instrument to save my life. And I went through a fat period of my life where I asked for a different instrument every Christmas, and I would learn it by the next week after I got it for
Wow.
Christmas. Like I feel like once you learn, for me personally, it was like once I learned one, like I was good. Like I understood the theory of instruments. Like my in high school, my uh flute instructor was also a harpist. So one year, I for the Christmas concert or Christmas recital, I came into my like a month prior. I said, "Hey, Monica, I want to surprise my parents and play harp at the recital." And I did it. Like I just did it, and I played harp for the first like little section of the piece, and then I picked up my flute and played flute for the second half. And I was like, hey, Mom, Dad, like I got a surprise at the recital tonight. And I just like, of course, I played like my flute repertoire. Then I sat back down and Monica, my instructor, knew like it was a surprise. So she made it the finale,
Oh, cool.
and which was so, yeah, great. So like I got up with my flute and then I sat down at the harp and it was like, oh, like everybody, like it was so funny because but it's the same as everything else. Like it's like a piano, like you could see it. It's just the same. Uh, so yeah, learning different instruments and everything. But can I read? No. Have I, when I type in the numbers at checkout, do I charge everybody the wrong price because I mix around the numbers? Absolutely. Absolutely. But dang, do I know some music, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just so silly. I don't know. Like I'm just so quirky and different.
I think it just kind of, yeah, like I said before, it's just different parts of the brain, maybe different ways of functioning,
Right.
perhaps.
Yeah. Because there's like left brain and right brain type stuff. Who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
I think
cool though.
so.
I'm grateful for it. Yeah. Still kind of wish that I got put in orchestra though. It was because Eleanor Rigby, has like that string quartet. And I was like, that's what I want. That's what I want. And they're like, no, band. No, you're gonna be a band kid. Sorry. I'm
Man,
like, thanks, middle school registrar's office. Thanks. Re-altered my entire life right there.
and for you.
Ugh.
On
Anyway.
your website, it says that you draw inspiration from nature. Could you expand on
Yes,
this?
absolutely. Um, do you like, you know, the feeling? Okay, I'm trying to see how to word this. Do you ever go outside and just kind of like you feel you can like when you're in like the mountains or something like that, or you're outside and you can hear the breeze coming, like you can hear the gust of wind coming through the trees before it kind of like washes over you, and then it's just like that crisp fresh air on your skin. That, like, I don't know if it's much like pulling inspiration from nature, as in I hear the noises of nature and I try to replicate that, as like when I'm surrounded by nature, it puts me in such a good headspace that I feel like I can like I feel like my most authentic self,
Mm.
especially since moving here to Las Vegas. So I used to live here when I was younger. When my dad's retired military, and we were stationed here when I was in elementary school and middle school. This is where I first started playing the flute. Since I've moved back, it's in a valley, so there's mountains all over, and there's a Mount Charleston Peak. It's like 40 minutes from my house. Every week since I've been here, I've gone up to the mountains because it's not humid. It's like 20 degrees colder up there, and it's exactly like that, just most natural, authentic feeling that I can possibly put myself in. And I this morning when I got off this so when I work graveyard, I get off at 6 a.m. and I go up to the parking garage, and we have to park on the top of the parking garage, and the sun is just barely coming up as I get off. So usually since I've been working, it's been I will get in my car immediately and go home. Or I'll take a cat nap in my car and then go home because I'm too tired. But today I had like a second wind that came, and I just sat on the edge of the parking garage. Like I just, stood there and watched the sun come up over the mountains. And I was like, I tried to take pictures and videos of it, but it absolutely would not capture it. And I'm like, this is it. Like this is like I never thought that I always felt close to nature, like that, like when I was, of course, like when I was in nature, like I said, authentic, but like I had the realization this morning that like no, like I'm actually, I feel like just looking at it from a distance, I'm like, that is, I want to be there. So I feel um like I said, my flute and my music is an extension of myself. And I just, like when I go out, like I don't know if you've watched any of my recent kind of videos, but I recently went up into the mountains and brought my amp and my mic and just played into the mountains, and the noise was ricocheting off the mountains like back, and it just felt like it belonged there. Like I felt like, wow, that is me ricocheting off of these pieces of the earth that have been there for what, billions of years, however long that the earth has been around. And it's like I am like not manifesting, but like I guess manifesting. I'm breathing in air, this clean fresh air that the trees are providing, like cleaning for me. I'm breathing it in and I'm breathing out intangible art, and it's ricocheting off these mountains right now. That's just the neatest thing to me. So and then when I was in Florida, I would go to the beach too. I don't like the beach, but it's a good place to clear your mind, you know? Uh, or just like a good drive, and just kind of taking a moment to uh, realize that even the grass and the wildflowers and the median of the highway is a living thing, just like you are. And there's just life all around us. That's just a great place to ground yourself before embarking on like creating, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So I guess that's what I mean by taking inspiration from nature, you know?
Mm.
Also, flute kind of sounds like birds, so maybe that's the short answer, I guess. I don't know.
In that you were talking about the fact that you had grown up in a military family. Talk us through
Yes.
your experiences growing up in a military family and how that shaped you as a person.
Um, I feel like the exposure to a lot of different cultures and ways of life uh rounded me a lot. Like I feel because I'm sure like every military person that or military brat or whatever they call them, they can never say where they're from, because they're just from so many places. And I think that's like each little military child that got to kind of grow up in a bunch of different areas has their own sense of like I don't want to say culture, but kind of culture. Like they just pick bits and pieces
Mm.
and make their own kind of way of life. And I think that's great because when I was in Florida, I always considered myself from Las Vegas, but now that I'm here, I'm like, no, I think I'm from Florida. But then I was like, I don't really consider myself like a Floridian, but like Southern hospitality, I've definitely picked that up. But the like fast-paced city life from here, I've picked that up as well. I lived in Dubai for a year. Yes, that was crazy. It was like an alternate dimension. And I went to a school where I was pretty much, me and my brother were the only two Americans in the entire school. And my best friend was Turkish. So, like, getting to pick and choose what I want from what I like from those cultures, like little, like funky superstitions, or just like, oh, like in the Norwegian culture, we do this. And I'm like, you know what? I like that. That's what I'm gonna do from now on. And like I was born in Cambridge,
No
England.
way.
So yeah, like Mildenhall, like my dad was stationed over there. That's where I was born. So my parents, I did not live there that long, but my parents, they were newlyweds over there, and me and my brother both have Irish names.
Do you have dual citizenship?
No, I was born on American base, military base.
Oh, see, that doesn't
Yeah.
apply. Interesting.
No, I
Okay.
don't. Yeah. I've got my social security card looks different than everybody else's. From what I'm told, I haven't really seen like whenever I show it at like a job, they're like, "Oh, you were born overseas, weren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess. I guess it's a different color. I don't know." But
Okay.
uh what was I where was I going with that? But so my parents love like the European culture
Mm.
when they were like newlyweds, like living there. My brother's name is Patrick. We call him Paddy, and my name is Erin-Clare, and Clare is like County Clare in Ireland. So, but
Oh.
I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of European blood in us somewhere, but like, so having those kind of European ideologies along with like Southern ideologies and then like Western ideologies, it makes me super good at accents. Like I can whip a Southern accent out of nowhere, if I need to. You'd be surprised how good that comes in handy sometimes. But yeah, so military family, I think, is great. It definitely takes a certain kind of kid. Like you have to push yourself a lot harder because you don't have time to waste to make friends because you just got to uproot and go somewhere else, and you don't really want to not have friends because you don't know how long you're going to be there, so you need to just go ahead. It's definitely like I confidence is important, but luckily I have that, so I've been fine.
What would you say are the biggest lessons you've learned through traveling? Just about life.
Yeah, I just I think that's where a lot of the foundations of like respect in my childhood came from. It's like learning to respect other cultures, and that um, just because you're in somebody else's, like you're in somebody else's territory all the time. So you have to be respectful of the other cultures and everything, especially like living in Dubai. There's like a dress code, like a nationwide dress code,
Sure.
So, um, and then while we were in Dubai, we took a couple of like European trips because it's like right there. It's not as difficult from going from America to Europe. So just kind of learning that we're like the spectators on the side, and we just get to kind of um, respect and absorb the culture. That's what I feel like I've learned a lot from travel is uh like just kind of being able to step back and recognize the differences in like how I act and how other people act, and how to not think, oh, that's stupid because that's not how I act,
Sure.
but be like, that's neat because that's like what they think is common. And I absolutely don't think it's common. And they probably think how I act is also super strange. So, but like instead of judging it, um, celebrating it, you know? I think that's something great. And you get to see, like, looking at different places is really cool. Like, just the ecosystems and stuff like that, you know? Like Zermatt, Switzerland is hands down so far the prettiest place I've ever been because the air smelled better there. And then, like, the water was cleaner, it tasted different in a good way. And the plants just grew, like they grew more green there, you know, compared to like other dingy places that I've been. But yeah, just getting to kind of you definitely, how do you say this? You definitely learn to keep your eyes peeled a lot more when you are brought up in travel. Because if you are like you have like a one track mind, you don't experience nearly the same amount of stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Get it.
I don't know.
Amazing
Yeah.
stuff.
Thanks.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
Oh shoot. That's a good question. And I feel like I have so many answers. Vitamin C, take vitamin C. That's the best advice that you can take, you know. Stay up on your vitamins.
Fair play,
That's
man.
like the best advice. Yeah.
Got to look
I
after
don't
yourself.
know. Yeah. An hour from now, I'll be like, oh, this person gave me this
Ah!
advice and that was so much better. I'll make like an Instagram story about it, be like, hey, this is good advice that I remember. But like, yeah, that's the first thing that came to my head is take your vitamin C.
Well, let's try a slightly different one, but similar vibe. What's the biggest life lesson you've learned so far?
Another another hard one. Life lesson. Um, I feel like it's going to be similar to what I was talking about earlier, and just like be a nicer person and stuff like that's probably the nice, because I feel like I've been in a lot of situations where my actions turned around to bite me in the butt real hard. Um, and just like to learn that it's not all about you all the time.
Mm.
Is that was like a good life lesson, I guess. Um, like keep to your like keep to yourself, but also at the same time, like don't be self-absorbed with yourself, you know? I think that was like a good life lesson. I have a very sweet best friend named Katie, and I learn so much from that lady. She's younger than me. I say lady like she's older. She's like the most patient and kind person I've ever met. Well, I don't want to say ever met because my great grandma, may she rest in peace, was definitely the sweetest, most gracious, kind person I've ever met. But like peer wise, she's like top notch human. And just like being friends with her over the years, I owe so much of my patience that I have today and the kindness and respect that I have from people, just from observing the way that she treats other people. You know, I feel like my like I'm just naturally a selfish person, and I have to put brain power and like energy towards being selfless,
Mm.
unfortunately. But being friends with her and just observing the way that she is just like so selfless to the point where it's almost a flaw. Like she'll have plans for herself and she'll have her priorities, but she will drop everything if someone is in need. And that, like, just seeing that time and time and again over the years, I've absolutely tried to take as much as I can and learn as much as I can from her. So shout out to her. She's great. She's a great woman. But I would say that my friendship with her was a good life lesson. She's awesome. So yeah, I'll probably have to call her after this. I miss her dearly. She's back in Florida. But yeah,
Awesome.
selflessness, I guess, is a good life lesson that I've learned.
As we draw things to a close for today, do you have any upcoming projects or some final thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I do actually. So I don't have dates yet,
Okay.
but there is going to be something dropping in November. Don't have a solid date yet, but there is possibly some ear candy coming soon in November. So stay tuned about that. Like I said, I just launched my Patreon a little bit ago, and it's just about there's like 4 tiers, and there's 3 like basic tiers, but then there's like a music mentorship tier as well for like other musicians and other like people that want to kind of learn how to perfect their ear a little bit, hear a little bit better, and improvise, like improvisation, and taking a more creative, free approach to like technique and stuff like that. So that's Patreon's been launched. That was like the most recent thing I did. Something that I'm announcing probably today is I'm going to, and I'm going to talk about Greta Van Fleet again. I apologize, but I'm going to Florida in a couple weeks, and I'm going to follow them on tour on all their Florida shows because they have 4 Florida shows, and I play outside of their shows. And they had a show in West Virginia in August, and I did that, and I played outside for people, did like a little mini concert for the people camping out for general admission. So I'm following them on tour, and I'm playing outside because a lot of my followers are fans of theirs as well, because I do a lot of their stuff. So yeah, so if anybody's going to those Florida shows, they're in for a little treat, some entertainment, So
Fantastic.
that's my announcement that's probably going to happen today. But yeah,
Excellent.
I'm
Well,
excited.
yeah, you should be.
Yeah,
It
it's
sounds
that, or
fun.
it's like I'm living my groupie fantasy right now. That's what I'm trying to do.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I feel like this was just such genuine conversation. I'm like so pleased with the way this went. The fact that I'm so absolutely like I can actually form a sentence right now is just astonishing. So I'm pleased with this.
I'm saying, I think somewhere during the midst of the conversation, the coffee kicked in a little bit for me, but this is like my 5th coffee today. So I don't
Oh my
know.
gosh.
Yeah, just
I hope you don't have to have too much after this.
that's fine. I'll crash and then
All right.
it all begins again tomorrow,
Yeah, just the never-ending cycle. Yeah.
which is life. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
so much.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. You too.
And to all the listeners of the Christian Reeve Podcast, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Be safe, be well, and I'll see you in the next one.